Never let nobody tell you you can't make it. I don't ever want to hear you say that you can't do it.
Hi Houston, and welcome to divaonne exclusive entertainment TV show. I'm Whitney, your TV show host. Thanks for tuning in. Here at divaonne exclusive, we want to present new and upcoming artists so that we can get to know a little bit about them and what's going to happen and how they grow in this huge industry of entertainment. Bringing to Houston, I have today an upcoming artist that has a very unique voice, as I would say. Today, I would like to introduce to Houston Midas.
How you doing?
How you doing, Midas?
I'm good.
Very good. Okay, it's nice to have you here.
Glad
So
to be
what's
here.
up?
Nothing much. Just trying to get this music out. Trying to, show Houston what I'm bringing to the table and just see how the fans accept it.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about you and your music.
Right. I developed my style, early on when I, got into the music game. I wasn't really too serious about it at the beginning, it was just something I did with friends, freestyling, had karaoke machines, making tapes like that in high school.
Okay.
And then as I got older and got to college, got a little more serious and found some new friends who, put me on the path to.
All right, so you started with karaoke, huh?
Yeah, my friend, he had a karaoke machine, and we'd be in the house, all late at night, on the tapes, we were making on screw tapes.
I think we all did karaoke, right? Yeah, okay. So that's cool, okay. So how was rapping for you growing up?
Actually, my mom was a big influence on me, she's the one who introduced me to it, the whole culture, with the, Tupac and Juvenile and Eminem and Biggie Smalls, like she had all of their CDs, like from the beginning, so that's how I got into it.
So your mom was a groupie?
Nah, my mom, she was a hip-hop head,
No, just joking.
Yeah,
just a lover of hip-hop music. Okay, that's cool. Love mom, okay. So when did you know that you wanted to be a rap artist?
When I got more in college and I, was in front of crowds, I remember when 8 Mile came out, the whole battling thing was really big. And, doing some battles around school, one time, a crowd had gathered up like 100 people. People were coming up to me and they were like, oh man, you doing it? And, so I was like, maybe I could do something with it, on the serious note.
So you started kind of like in college, just hanging
Yeah,
out?
that's when I really got, to where maybe I can like be an artist and sustain in the game.
So did you really think that you would be serious? Were you just playing? Sometimes we go to college and we see people just hanging out, in the area, just rapping, just having these little battles, but they're not really serious about it.
Well, I was doing it so much to where I actually was doing that more than I was actually going to class. We'd be out there, not to say, don't get your education.
Skipping class.
I would, but we'd be out there 8, 7, 8 hours, walking through the commons, through the towers, all around campus.
Okay. So in a sense that you all were doing that, did that kind of help you perfect the little craft that you?
Right. It let me see like what my style is and how my mind works,
And
so,
if the people really liked you.
Yeah, right.
Well, you said you had 100 people.
Yeah, it was at least 100.
Somebody liked something that you were doing. If you could draw a crowd like that.
Right.
Okay. So now that you have the feel that you want to pursue this career, what have you done to try to make that happen?
Well, I've worked with various producers who are local, maybe not so much as big names, but guys who are really talented, who believed in me, and, got me recording and got me, kind of polished a little bit.
Right.
I've been in groups before, we've done shows and things like that together, but, sometimes we get all those different personalities. It's just hard to make it work.
Oh, we know how it is when you get a bunch of people together.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what motivates Midas when you have the pen and the paper and you sitting in a little corner all by yourself and you're trying to write. What inspires you?
Well, I want the connection. I want people when they listen to my music to have a connection to me. Like I want to show because a lot of rap today is not a lot of substance. It's a lot of bragging and showing the flash.
Right.
But everyday people can't relate to that 24/7. You know what I mean? I think just artists who've made an impact on the game have been able to show the other side. To be vulnerable and people be like, see that I'm human. I'm not just all flash and things like that. But I still want to have fun, make you move. But
well, now the way the rap game is in the industry period, as far as the entertainment, it is a lot of flashy and a lot of bragging and sometimes
it's false,
lies,
a lot of false, a lot of lying.
Yeah. So how do we handle that? Because we have some young people that's gonna look to us and that's gonna want to do what we do. How do you feel about that?
I feel like that's a big responsibility, and I just feel like your music should be reflective of what you really believe. You know what I mean? Like, if you out here saying, X, Y, and Z, then okay, well, that's what people are going to expect, and that's what people are hearing. So when kids are hearing you and seeing you, that's what they're looking at. So you can't try to say, well, no, it's not really like that. It's just my music. Like, no, that's your representative.
Exactly.
Like that. So, yeah.
Exactly. It's straight on. Okay, so what would you say when you're writing? Does it come from your personal experience or from like everyday life, or how do you justify your?
Well, I do a lot of personal experience, but I also have a lot of creativity. So I have a lot of concept-based work. You know what I mean? So just so it doesn't get stale, because you don't want to hear the same thing 100 times, just a different way. You know what I'm saying? So I really believe in my concept ability. So.
Right. But one thing, when you say that, you don't want to hear it over and over again, but sometimes you can hear the style of an artist,
right?
And before you hear the words, you can actually know that whose song that is.
Right.
So would you say that's a repetition, or how would you say that would be like that particular style for that artist, or would you have a style like that?
Right. Well, I think like my voice, it would just when you hear it on recording, you would know that's me automatically, because my voice is just kind of different. Okay. But I don't have like just a repetitive style that I use. I can.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I did say you had a voice, a unique voice.
Right.
So Houston is gonna know Midas's voice once he starts to open his mouth.
Off the muscle.
Yeah. That's confidence. That's what I like to hear. Right. That's what we want in the new upcoming artists. We want those people to know exactly what they want to do, how they want to do it, and what it takes to get there. Okay, so let's say, tell us a little bit about the experiences that you've had.
Right. Like I said, I've been in a group before. It was like 3 producers and 3 rappers, and it was a lot of talent. We were starting to do shows. We performed like Coco Loco one time. Coco Loco was real high.
Exactly.
It was really cool, and so we were doing that. We had our own studio built, but just the way the circumstances were, just artists. We were individuals trying to come together to do something, and just
trying to collaborate together.
Right.
Did that work?
No, it didn't. I think some of us were more receptive to it than others.
Right.
So
Okay.
that's just the way it is.
So when you're about to perform, I hear a lot of artists always talk about, and I ask this question to a lot of the artists because I want to know, people have different ideas about when they get on stage. Some people get nervous.
Right.
Some people have gotten on stage and got stage fright
Right.
and things like that. How do you feel before you perform?
Well, I definitely get nervous. That I'm not gonna lie about that. I get nervous, but I actually feed off of that energy. It's very strange. Like the nerves actually make me sharper. To be more aware of what's actually going on. So I'm being received.
So you use that to help you.
Right. I use it as motivation.
So you walk on there with your knees shaking, and when you get
yeah.
out there,
Then when I get into it, it's over. That energy switches.
Okay.
switches right over.
Vouch for that. I've seen you in action.
Right.
Okay. So who would you consider your idol, or some of the people that inspired you?
Well, definitely, there are a lot of artists. I really learn from every artist, actually. Even if I don't think, their music is quote unquote good, every artist's perspective is valid. So I try to learn everything from artists. So, that's very broad. But as far as my idols, probably my mom, just because how much, she knows and how I know, like, she really knows about the music. And when she tells me, like, okay, that's kind of hot, or, where you going with that, so...
So do you have the kind of mama when you at a show, your mama gonna say like, "That's my baby"?
Oh no. She gonna try to play it real cool. If anything, she gonna critique me and be like, "Oh, you weren't, looking into the crowd. You weren't doing this."
Oh, she gonna be one in the back going, "You should have did."
Yeah,
that.
that's right. That definitely, yeah.
Big ups to mom.
Yeah.
Hey mom.
Yeah.
Give a shout
What's up,
out to
mama?
you.
Hey, mama. T-lady. I call her T-lady. Yeah.
That's just a young thing that y'all do. Okay, so let's see. So are we looking forward to a new single, or do you have anything on the market?
Right, I have a single that I've actually had it for a little while, but I've had, different things with producers, so I finally settled on a producer, and I have it. It's called H in Your Face, and I'm probably shooting for a video for that in like October, like in the middle of October, so.
Okay, so we're looking for H in Your Face?
H in Your Face, yeah, I'm all in your face.
So when you wrote that song, H in Your Face, are we talking about H-Town?
We were talking about Houston all day, but we're also talking about anybody who has dealt with, quote unquote haters, doubters, you can put the H in their face and represent,
Okay, so how do we put the H in the face?
Oh, you just
Don't
throw
you
it
want
up.
to see viewers how we put the H
you
in the face?
throw it up. You're not the rock star. You're not doing a rock star. This is actually for Houston. This is where it started off.
Okay.
It started off as H-Town representing.
Houston base. All right,
Yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah.
good. We will be looking for H in your face.
Yeah, most definitely.
Well, actually, viewers, we have Midas performing H in Your Face at Houston Top Model Competition. So we're going to take a look at that. Okay, that was hot. Okay, that was hot. We should get some comments about that, right? Okay, all right. So, when we look for this video and we look for these things, what style would you prefer when you're actually shooting those type of
I would actually want something with story based. You know how you get a lot of rap videos? They're kind of repetitive, But you see like these other videos from different genres, they have like kind of a storyline to them, and it's kind of flowing. You're kind of getting a whole idea what's going on. So I want to be, have more like that.
Okay. So have you traveled with your music? Have you traveled from city to city, or just around the nation, or anything?
Well, right, I've been to, of course, Louisiana, that corridor, I-10 East, that's, y'all always show love. And, but I've also been to LA, I met a Snoop Dogg DJ. He has a whole DPG Japan division, so I was actually interested in that, because I've actually sold mixtapes in Japan. They have a lot of hip-hop fans out there.
Really?
Yeah, through the internet I've sold mixtapes out there.
Okay.
And then I've also gone to Baltimore, the scene in the Washington, D.C. area, and they really like Southern artists, so they're very receptive out there too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So being that you are an upcoming artist, you haven't really made it there yet.
Right.
And to do those things, what kind of motivation does that give you?
Well, it shows me that, it's very accessible, and that, I have what it takes, and I know I have the drive, and, my style can cross over. It's just, a universal feel that people get. So.
Okay, you sound like you have your head on your shoulders really, really well. I like the terminology that you're using.
Right.
And we like to know that a lot of our young men that in this rap game can actually convey their words like that.
Right.
Because people think that artists, rap artists, just, the little dumb, young guy
Right.
who just don't know how to talk. But, I find that to be untrue.
Right, it's a stigma that's placed on, and a lot of times the artists play into that. Like, they actually might be intelligent, but they want to come off like, speaking a certain way to get them a certain amount of credibility, which I don't understand how that makes any sense.
No, it doesn't, but it is what it is, Houston. Okay, so what would you say would be one of your best performances?
It'd probably have to be one that I did for you. Bun B was in the audience,
Okay.
and so I was like, I got a rocket for Bun, you know what I mean? So that left an impression on me, and also like I had people from back in my college days who saw me when I was first starting, and they were in the crowd, and some of the guys I had battled against. And they were watching me perform, so I was like, "Yo, I throw in the H&A phase very hard."
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So being that you had Bun B, and ladies and gentlemen, that was at one of my Houston Top Model competition shows where I actually invite upcoming artists to perform and kind of get their name out. So being that Bun B was one of my guests, and his wife Queenie were there at the show, and you had the people that you say were the haters, how you do that, and how did you feel performing in front of a major artist like Bun B?
I felt like inspired, and also to perform to a level to where, cause I idolize other artists. I think that they're high. I respect them because they've been in the game and they paved the way for me to even be able to come do what I do. So, but I also want them to know that I feel like I'm a major artist too, and so so I definitely use that. Right.
Okay. I always think positive.
Right.
I always think the highest. I always think to the summit. Okay. Right. So what would you say were some of the ups and downs of your starting career?
A lot of the ups were just the initial reception I was receiving. People were telling me, reinforcing the confidence in me, like telling me, oh yeah, you hot, I like your style, you're very unique. Like I love hearing that, like you're unique. And but like the group's failings and different producers, falling outs and things like that.
Exactly.
But it's a part of the business.
Well, that's in this industry. You're gonna have people that collab together, make a great hit, then next thing you know, you don't hear nothing from them anymore. Right. So we just got to be aware. But knowing how to take on the individuality of that sense allows you to keep going, even after the groups are. Exactly. Okay. So, what artists have you worked with?
Well, I've worked with, a lot of local artists, maybe not too many big names. So, but I mean, maybe some of the producers I've worked with have been, a little bit more bigger name. Like, I've worked, recently I've done a lot of work with Sapphire, and he's got a lot of in-house things with Boss Hog Outlaws and J-Dog, behind tent, he really blew that up. So,
but just affiliating yourself with those people allows you to be able to be connected.
Right, exactly. Like, that's we're all connected in this. Like, one artist doing good, like me, the 6 degrees of separation, like if he does good, then he does good, and I can do it. So, yeah.
So y'all hope to equate on the same level.
Right.
Okay, good. Okay. So what artists would you like to work with? Are there any people that you just say, I got to work with this person because I know they're going to make my music hot?
Oh, well, you already know, like, Wayne, definitely. Who wouldn't want to work with Wayne, But really, any artist who's, like, very passionate, got a good sound to him, I'm willing to work with anyone. Like, it's not even about, like, how big your name is because everybody had to start from somewhere. Like, Jay-Z wasn't Jay-Z before he got there, So
I like that. I like that inspiration that you have in the studio today.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Okay. So we're going to talk about any of your CDs that you're trying to promote or trying to market or actually put together.
Right, I'm about to start a original mixtape series, 7:13 a.m. I started to put that out probably around the time my first single come out, and then we're just going to go with that. It's going to be all original music, so it's going to be really like underground albums, I'm going to give the people quality work at all times,
Okay, we heard 7:13 a.m., so that has to have some significance, right?
Right. 7:13, of course, is an area code, maybe it's in Houston, but also like a time of awakening, like a golden age, like for Houston to come back on the scene, like the alarm clock going off, we back in.
Well, that's what I gathered from it.
Yeah,
like 7:13, is that a.m.? Okay, so what does that mean?
Yeah, right.
7:13. It's amazing how everybody can have their own unique contrast, even with all the different colors and arrays going on within this industry. Everybody can put together something and make it their own.
Right, exactly. I think everybody's story is actually unique, and just some of us have a gift to tell a story. But no matter who you are, your story is unique and is entertaining if you can make it that way. But it's very has merit, right?
Right, okay. So what style do we get to look for when Midas? What is Midas style? What's your swag?
I mean, my swag is, I really just, I can't really put it into words. I know it's very, vague, but it's just unique. Like, I would say more of an Andre 3000 mode, and to where it's just not conventional. It's just not, going to be this way. I can hit you, from left field one minute and come straight down the pike at you the next. So,
okay. So we're looking for a whole bunch of different stuff.
Right. I think I could have a very broad crossover appeal. Crossover is really looked at in a negative sense. I don't know why, because you telling your message and you want as many people to receive it as possible. So I think, from the suburbs to the hood, I can be felt, just because.
So you don't want to just be limited.
Right. No, not at all.
Right.
Not at all, because, coming from an underground artist, a lot of people tend to want to go strictly to the maybe a hood level, maybe because, those are people who going to be out there, jamming your city, getting you out there. So I can relate to you too, you know what I mean? But I can also go to, corporate America everywhere. I can do it all.
Yeah, so we have this thing in the world of the divas. We say we can be a diva, but we can also go back to the hood. Don't quote me on that, Houston. That was just something that I just came up with. Okay, so we talked about your dress code and stuff like that. So when you perform, do you actually put a dress code to certain songs or to a certain event or whatever that whole entire event is?
I do want to show that, I'm kind of stylish a little bit, I'm not just going to hoodie it out and stuff like that, but I will hop in the wife beater real quick, so don't get it twisted.
Okay.
All right, so.
Well, the ladies look for that anyway. They look for the rapper to come out in shirt from time to time and show all the tats and stuff like that. Ain't that right, ladies? Can we get a hood? Yes! Okay. So that's what the ladies like. So, I mean, one thing about the industry, you want to appeal to all artists because you're going to have a fan base from kids, from guys, from girls, from, moms and dads and stuff like that. Right. Is there any type of scenario that you want to stay within?
I would like to stay, the kids actually are the ones who generate the industry. They're the ones who are actually out there and they see and they don't maybe have access to the bootleg man and all that. So they're actually going to be the ones who might go buy the CD or try to download it off the internet or something like that. So you got to be aware of that. But also, like, as adults, because, I'm an adult, I'm not a young pup anymore, so but I also like to hear music, that has some kind of bass to it, some kind of content, so you want to also keep that in mind, because they still will support quality music, quality music, right?
Exactly. And we do not want to buy bootleg.
Right, okay? No bootleg.
Go out and buy the original CD. Support these young artists because they need to make money. That's how we make it in this industry. Okay. So let's say talk about the new music that you had. I know you was talking about. We saw a clip from the H in your face, so we know that was a little while ago. So let's talk about some new stuff we got going on.
Well, actually, I just hooked up with some new producers, Ill Faded. They do a lot of work. They have a lot of great artists and a lot of great work they're putting out. So I'm starting to work with them and, develop some original music with them. And we just go, like, it's crazy. Like, we'll just get in the studio and just get the energy, and they'll make the beat right there, and I'll make the songs right there. But I definitely have a catalog of songs that I, are ready for use that'll be brand new, to the public, but that I've, been sitting on. So I've been stockpiling on this.
So you have an archive?
Yeah, I got an archive. I got some warheads, and I'm about to press the button.
Okay. All right. So from the words of Midas, we got a little young man who wants to become an artist.
Right.
He doesn't know how. Right. He needs to stay in school, but we still want him to be motivated to do something different. What would you tell that new upcoming artist, the one that wants to be in your shoes right now?
I would say to keep working and to, like, it sounds so cliche, but you just have to keep going. Like, there's going to be so many roadblocks, so many times where you think, like, maybe this isn't for me, like, so hard, or how people receiving me. Like, I've done songs where people, like, didn't get the warmest reception, and it's like, it kind of hurts because you put your own creation out there, but you just have to stick with it. If you really believe in yourself, that's the number one thing. If you believe in yourself, then you can do it, because,
So do you have an experience where you were performing and you just thought you just nailed it, and the audience just wasn't receptive to it? Have you ever experienced that?
Well, I have, some of the first performances I did, a lot of, it was sometimes, you want to start around family and friends,
Right.
And so that,
At the picnics,
yeah,
at
the
family
picnics, the family
reunions.
reunions, just to get your feet
Look
wet.
at little Junior, ain't he cute?
And your cousins in there like, man, I don't know, I don't know. You could do it, I could do it, everybody. I'm a rapper too,
Right,
so, okay,
right,
whatever, right.
That's
So,
how it starts, okay. Because, they do boo
right.
artists when they,
Yeah, they'll boo you.
straight up, they will boo you if you're not good.
Well, fortunately, I haven't been booed, so, I try to keep it,
Right, okay. Well, that's going to wrap it up here with this interview with Midas here at divaonne Exclusive Entertainment. I want to thank you all for viewing in. I'd like to thank Houston for giving our artists another chance, another opportunity to show what they are all about. Be on the look for Midas' upcoming CDs, Midas' upcoming singles, the video. Hey, support these young artists because they need you. We love you. Here at divaonne Exclusive, we just want to say take care and God bless.
Never give up on your dreams. One day dreams can become reality. So never let nobody tell you that you can't make it.